Hey y'all, how's it going? Happy Tuesday. Today I'm going to be talking about my journey on finding out that I still have it, that I have a seizure disorder. All this starts like a couple years ago, on my 19th birthday, which was March 16th in 2014. I was over at a friend's house while I was at college. And I had a seizure on their kitchen floor. It only lasted for about 5 minutes, and I was conscious through the whole thing, but it had never happened before. They took me to the hospital, and they did tests and all sorts of stuff. Everything came back normal, so they're like, okay, you can go home, but we want you to follow up with a neurologist, which is a brain doctor, to, do some tests to see if you have epilepsy and stuff like that. I went to this neurologist and they did an ambulatory EEG on my head, which was where they put those little electrode things like all over your head, so you have wires all over your head and they glue them to your head, and it takes forever to get the glue out of your hair. Oh my lord, that was a mess. But anyway, so I had that done and that came back normal, so I did not have epilepsy. So throughout the past 2 years, I've just been going, seeing different doctors. When my seizures get bad, I've been continuing to have seizures. Sometimes they're more spaced out than others. Like sometimes I can go a couple months without having them, and there are other times where I can't go a day without having them. It just kind of depends on what's going on in my life, how I'm feeling, and stuff like that. One of the doctors that I've been to told me that I had some form of ADD or ADHD. Another doctor told me that I either had MS or a brain tumor, which was very scary. So I had an MRI done to see if I had multiple sclerosis or a brain tumor. That came back normal, so I didn't have any of that. So yeah, so it's been very frustrating to know that something's wrong with you, but they do every sort of test and everything else, and they just don't know what's wrong. Around the same time that I started having seizures, I was auditioning for a drum corps at the time. I got a contract, which was very exciting. That was my dream, was to march for a drum corps. And I couldn't go on tour because I was having seizures and it wasn't safe for me to go. That didn't work out, which was very heartbreaking. I had to drop out of college. It's definitely impacted my life a lot, in a lot of different ways. About a year ago, I moved down here to Maryland with Justin, and my seizures subsided for a couple months. I was doing really good, and then I got a job, and the job was just awful and very, very stressful. So I started having more seizures, and then ever since then I just was having more and more and more, so I had to quit my job. And then at that point I was just so over it. This past September, Justin and I had been talking and stuff because I was still having just so many seizures, and it was really taking a toll on me and everything, and it was really, really hard. So we decided to go to Johns Hopkins Hospital in Baltimore, which is one of the best teaching hospitals in the country. So Justin's like, if you go there, they're gonna be able to tell you what's wrong. So I was like, okay, well, if they can tell me what's wrong, that would be wonderful, because it's been 2 years and I still don't know what's wrong with me. So we drive down to Baltimore, we get there, we're waiting, we go in to see the doctor, and we're not even there for 20 minutes. But in that 20 minutes, he did an initial test type thing, which is something that you would get done if you go to the doctor for a physical, and then asked me a whole bunch of questions. And at the end of this 20-minute appointment that we were in, we literally were in there for 20 minutes, and he's like, alright, well, I agree with everyone else that you don't have epilepsy, you don't have multiple sclerosis, you don't have a brain tumor, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, I knew all that. And he's like, but you do have psychogenic non-epileptic seizures. And I'm like, okay. And first of all, when you go 2 years without having something that so severely affects your life and you don't know what's going on with you, you start to get on Google and be like, okay, what's going on? You start to like kind of self-diagnose and stuff like that. So I did already know about psychogenic non-epileptic seizures, or PNES as it's abbreviated. I did know about them, and I kind of thought that might have been what I had, but now like I finally had an answer. I finally had something like a medical professional telling me that this is what I had, which, oh my goodness, that was like half the battle right there. So yeah, so I left that appointment and I was like, okay, I didn't know for 2 years, and I spent 20 minutes with this guy and he says, yeah, this is what you have. Psychogenic non-epileptic seizures are caused by a traumatic event, such as like physical or sexual abuse, or like a witness to violence. It's a PTSD reaction, and PTSD is post-traumatic stress disorder, which makes sense because like it kind of goes hand in hand with PTSD. In my personal experience with this type of seizure disorder, I don't know what happened to me, and I may never know. That's another scary thing, is that I may never know what happened to me to make me have, you know, these scary seizures. It's about as common as multiple sclerosis. So there definitely are people that have it and everything. It's just that nobody wants to talk about it because it's more of a mental thing than it is a physical thing. There's nothing wrong with my brain, but it's the emotional side of my brain or my body, if that makes sense. So there definitely needs to be some awareness brought up about it, because people do need help, and people, medical professionals, a lot of them don't know how to help the patients. It actually, patients of PNES, or people that have PNES, they actually don't get the proper diagnosis until like 7 to 10 years, I think, is the average of like, that's how long it takes to actually like find a diagnosis to what's wrong with you. Like, I cannot imagine that. Like, I went 2 years and I was like, all right, something needs to change, because like this is not cool. I couldn't imagine going 7 years without knowing like what was happening to me and just keep having seizures all the time. I'm not able to work, which kind of led me into making videos on YouTube, because it gives me something to do. It feels like a job, so you know, I take it seriously as like my job. So that helps a lot, and it gives me something to do, and I love to do it, so it's a win-win situation. So that's it for this video. If you have any questions regarding anything that I talked about in this video, leave a comment. Other than that, that's it for me for this week. So I'll see you all next Tuesday. Alright.